Hello, everyone. It's Cassandra Williamson coming to you from Hardy, Kentucky, up in the holler, over in the hills of eastern Kentucky, right along the Tug River near there, across from Williamson, West Virginia, and Mingo County, West Virginia, and Matewan, West Virginia, part of the historic Hatfield McCoy feud that started. Yeah, that's where I am. So, we've got a few things to chat about today. And let me do one thing before I get into all of this. I want to change my display setting, put a different contrast on the background. I did not do that yet. So hang with me as I change the contrast to podcast one and then apply. And we'll give it a second. My glasses. Okay, so again, as I said, my name is Cassandra Williamson. I am in the hills, in the holler, way up in one, actually, about 2 miles up in one, and still got a mile to go to the other end. And well, it's out in the boonies. Anyway, it's fun. This is actually home, and I grew up around here, graduated from Belfry and all that kind of stuff, and born over in Williamson, West Virginia. But there's a lot of things going on right now. I just wanted to kind of touch base on. The first thing is, hey, I got a new haircut today. I hope you like it. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. It actually looks more like one of my cousins from down in, I think it's Jackson, Kentucky, somewhere. Devonna? I think it looks more like hers, but I was looking for the look of Lisa Rinya, Rinni. I don't know if it's Rennie or Rinya. Anyway, so Lisa Rinya. That's what I'm calling. But anyway, so I had the haircut today, and I actually like this. It's cool and refreshing. Yeah. And lo and behold, I actually saw somebody in the McDonald's, not after the haircut, but before that. And there's the UPS driver. Whew, goodness. Melting weather with that one. Oh, so anyway, yeah, that was what can I say? Anyway, yeah, that's about all you can say. Anyway, so I lost track of what I was thinking of saying. Oh, okay. Now I got my train of thought back. Phew. I'm not going to stay down here long. I'm actually going to be taking my brother's truck and hauling off and stuff like that around, going over to Pikeville in his old beat up Ford truck. That'll be fun. There's no AC in that thing. You roll it down. You got natural air conditioning. See, you roll the windows down, put the little vent windows facing your face, and drive as fast as you can. That's the idea. So you get all the air you can coming through there. But anyway, I won't be doing that. That's before the evening show tonight at 6. I'm coming on a little late today because I have been really busy this morning. Obviously getting the haircut going. I'm doing some DoorDash and stuff like that. And actually, meeting people and talking with them. And that's the best part about this. You discover that there are some really good people everywhere you go. And most people, I'm going to say, I can't give you a statistical number or anything like that, but I'm going to say most people with a capital MOST, most people really don't care anything at all and have no problem with who I am, because I'm not out there going, you got to say this and you got to do this. And I'm not going to go run some race with somebody. If I were like in my teens and early 20s and something, going out and run some race somewhere or try to beat them, on the women's side of the sports, I'm not going to do that, because I do happen to believe that it is unfair, because there are structural advantages. Whether or not you have the muscle mass and all that kind of stuff has been reduced through hormones and all those things. If you've done that and you've gone through male puberty, well, there's a good chance, statistically speaking, that you can do better than the women who would be competing against, the biological genetic women. I'm going to put it that way, because biological actually is just a crazy way of trying to push it over, make you think that it's something else. It's not. We're all biological. Whether you agree with that term or not, I don't care. But we are all biological. We just don't know enough about all the genetics and science to understand fully who we are and how we got here. And I actually think that those studies need to be done. But under this current administration, they can't even say the words without getting in trouble. So if you're a trans athlete out there, a transgender athlete out there, and you're competing against genetic women, and you went through male puberty, don't do it, because you will become a national problem for all of us. Yes, we're going to do everything we can to protect you and shield you and say that you can do whatever you need to do to live your life. But when you do that, you bring harm to all the rest of the community who's just trying to live. And that's the challenge that they have. Okay, because what's going to happen right now? Well, the news story just came out, sometime today, that said Trump's going to be suing the crap out of California over allowing that transgender athlete to compete there. And then what was the other state that did it? Washington did it too. So we've got a couple of things going on here. These people went through male puberty for the most part, as far as I know. I mean, I don't know much beyond that, but if they went through male puberty as, a genetic male XY, then statistically speaking, structurally, bone wise, and all this kind of stuff, you have the structure of an XY male, genetic male. And that's not just on the course level. That's not a fine assessment or anything like that. I know there are fine assessments that could actually look at all of that more deeply and actually be able to see where the differences occurred and allow you to be trans or me to be trans. I know that. I know the science is there for that. But right now is not the time to do all these things because it's causing harm to all of us, every time, because it just keeps transgender people in the news every day, day in and day out. And the whole idea is not that they're going after trans. This is just a gateway drug to them. Transgender people have made themselves so obvious and so much of an easy target that what's happening is that everybody on the right who has a problem with any minority whatsoever can claim we're going to protect the girls and going after trans people. Well, that's what's happening, and they won't stop there. If you have been paying attention at all, anything that I've said for the past 2 years or longer, anything that I've said, you'll know that I've told you that this is not the end game. When they say they're protecting kids, it's a gateway drug to them to get to the entire gay, lesbian, bisexual, queer community and all the trans people too. Every bit of it they want to shove out of the public sphere. And what are you hearing a lot of over in the manosphere, over there where Matt Walsh is at and Jesse Waters is at, and all those people who think they have a right to tell others how to live their lives and how to be men and how to be, theocratic fascists, because that's what Matt Walsh is. And whether you like that or not, that's what he calls himself. All right. So, yeah, we know what they're thinking. They don't believe women ought to be out in the public at all. And they sure as hell don't think LGBT people ought to view at all. And especially right during Pride Month. During Pride Month, yeah, there's going to be some stupid people out there doing crazy things. And I hope to God I get a chance to call them out when they do it. But some people said, we don't need that. We don't need Pride Month. We don't need to be celebrating that. It's not necessarily just a celebration, folks. It's an acknowledgement of the trauma and the fight that got us here to start out with. Marsha Johnson at the Stonewall Club, at the Stonewall Inn in New York, in Greenwich Village. That precipitated where we are today. But what you're going to see is every time these populations start getting a little bit of a foothold, whether they start gaining some extra rights or privilege or something like that, every time that happens, there's a concerted pushback against it. They start going after the academic institutions that start talking about it, and they go after anyone and everyone who has anything to do with it. They did it during the McCarthy era. They did it during the civil rights movements of the 60s. They did it in the 70s, whenever you had the shootings like at Ohio State, 4 dead in Ohio State. Every time a minority population gains a little bit of traction in this country and gains a little bit of parity with the rest of society, and there are going to be people out here on the right and everywhere, really. There's going to be people who are saying, but you do have those things. No, we don't. All you have to do is look at you, and you can see clearly that we don't. One, like Matt Walsh is saying over on X, we don't need to be celebrating that. We want to. I'm a veteran. I have a month and I've got a couple of days that are celebrated and memorialized for us. We've got that. The people who have been experiencing the most oppression are the minority populations in this country, whether they're veterans or not. That's why you have Black History Month. That's why you have LGBT Pride Month. That's why you have Hispanic American Month. That's why you have Pacific Islander Month and Native American Month, Indigenous Peoples Month. That's why you got those things, because they were oppressed, and it's a celebration of the fact that they're still here. That's what this is. That's why Pride Month is so important, because we have got to celebrate the fact and acknowledge the fact of where we came from, and that every time we gain a little, those over on the conservative side, and I'm using conservative because that used to be the Democrats, and then it switched over to be the Republicans, and they just flopped around. I mean, it's go flop, 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 flop. You can't trust any of them. That's the whole thing. But the point is, it's like this. There's a cycle of change that occurs over time, because they went after the educational institutions in the McCarthy era because they were teaching. We've been here before, folks. We've been here before. This has happened many times already, but they went after educational institutions who had anything and everything to do with socialism and communism, and tried to shut them down and try to dictate to these colleges and universities what they could say and what they could teach. We're there again, but it's happened like 3 or 4 times since the McCarthy period in the early 50s. Folks, this is not new. This is not new. It's just riding the cycle out. But here's the thing. This is the thing. Keep your eye on this, because regardless of how the cycle goes up and down like that over time, it's slightly inclined up. Over time, we're gaining more rights and freedoms and equity, or parity, I should say, parity with the rest of society in this country. It's a gradual increase over time, regardless of the bumps along the way, whether it's conservatives going after us because we have too many rights and they don't like that. They don't like that we're out in the public sphere and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's what they're doing. They're at that place now. This is the high point of the conservative side, where they start trying to roll back everything they possibly can. And as I said, we've been doing this in this country for a long time, folks, a long time. I just did an analysis for the past 100 years, and the first thing you see is, one, in the 30s, there was a lot of anti-Semitism on campus. In the 1930s, there was a lot of anti-war and anti-military stuff going on American campuses in the 1930s. Guess who the student population was in the 1930s? Predominantly white, well-off people. But when the war started, they all changed and started doing their thing and got together. Well, we pulled it off then, right. But this stuff is not new, folks. It's not just today. It's not just because of the open borders. It's not just because of all those things. This is who this nation is, and we have that DNA in us. And this is a combative kind of political system that we have here in the U.S., which means that you're going to have cycles. You're going to have cycles where you get a lot of liberty, people chasing down freedoms and actually getting them, and is moving up here, and then the right gets all pissed. The conservatives get all pissed about it, and they think you've got too much, and they say you're pushing too hard, you're too visible. We don't need to be in public spaces, and we surely don't want you to have any kids if you're gays and lesbians. Right? That's out there right now too, by the way. And you sure don't need marriage equality. Absolutely not. That stuff has to go away, they say. So they're going to try to roll it all back, and then we'll get it back a little bit here, and then gradually we'll finally get there. But we're always going to be doing this fighting, this balance of power, balance of ideologies, in this country. That's the way it has been, but there is a difference this time around. You know what that difference is? The social Darwinism of the religious right. The social Darwinism of the religious nationalists who are seeking to control this country from the top down, who believe that all levels of power and authority in this country are subject to them, much like the Ayatollah believes over in Iran. They believe that stuff, and if you're not looking at it, studying it, and preparing for that, well, you deserve whatever you get with your head stuck in the sand. You know what's up in the air after that? Come on, folks. You know. So here we are. We have a society now that we're having a resurgence of conservatism across the political spectrum right now. They're pushing down on anything and everything that has to do with minority freedoms and rights and the parity that we've been trying to attain across time. But little do they know that eventually we win. We may go up and down a lot along the way, but we're going to get there, whether they like it or not. And they'll come along with us. Fighting and gnashing of teeth will occur because, yeah, they're coming along with us, whether they like it or not. Hang on, folks. We do get it all back. Hang on. It won't be easy. We'll have to fight a little bit. We'll have to struggle. We'll have to let people know that we're not going anywhere and that Pride Month is important for the very reasons we just outlined. I just outlined to you. So come back this evening and I'm likely to get pissed again. Come back at 6. I've got to go get in the pickup truck and my little red Ford and go haul off some stuff for my brother. Bye.